You've probably stood in a supermarket, staring at two cartons of eggs. One is white, the other brown, and the brown ones almost always cost more. Somehow, they feel healthier, more wholesome, maybe even a little farm fresh. So you pick the brown ones, feeling confident in your choice. But what if I told you that the color of an eggshell has almost nothing to do with nutrition, quality, or taste? The truth is simpler, stranger, and far more surprising than most people realize. By the end of this hour, eggs will never look the same again. But before we crack this open, if you love discovering hidden stories behind everyday things, subscribe now. Breakfast is about to get a lot more interesting. Chapter 1. The Great Egg Illusion. Most people assume brown eggs are healthier. White eggs, by contrast, feel plain, industrial, maybe even processed. Brown eggs seem natural, organic, almost nostalgic, the kind your grandparents might have collected from their backyard chickens. The reality is far simpler. Eggshell color is determined almost entirely by the chicken's breed. Genetics decide whether an egg will be brown or white, just as they decide hair or eye color in humans. White-feathered chickens with white earlobes lay white eggs, while brown-feathered chickens with red earlobes lay brown eggs. That tiny flap of skin beneath the ear holds the secret, and yet it goes unnoticed by almost everyone. Most of us spend extra money on a difference that is purely cosmetic. Chapter 2. The Price of a Bigger Chicken. If shell color is genetics, why are brown eggs more expensive? The answer lies in the chickens themselves. The breeds that lay brown eggs are usually larger, and larger chickens eat more food. More food means higher production costs, and higher production costs mean a higher price at the store. It's not about nutrition or quality, it's about the appetite of a chicken. Yet, when we see the price tag, our brains trick us into believing that the brown egg is superior. The illusion is complete. The cost creates the perception of value. Chapter 3. Nutrition or Myth. Perhaps the biggest myth is that brown eggs are healthier. In reality, the nutrients inside an egg, protein, fat, cholesterol, vitamins, are nearly identical whether the shell is brown or white. Any variation comes from the chicken's diet, not its breed. A white egg from a pasture-raised free-range chicken may actually be more nutrient-dense than a brown egg from a caged bird. So when it comes to nutrition, the shell color is almost meaningless. Yet the myth persists, quietly influencing millions of shopping decisions every day. Chapter 4. The Organic Confusion. Over time, brown eggs began to take on a new meaning in the minds of shoppers. Smaller local farms often used heritage breeds, which naturally laid brown eggs. And so brown came to be associated with organic, free-range, or farm fresh. White eggs, in contrast, became linked to large commercial farms. They were efficient, easy to produce, and cheap to ship, but somehow they acquired a reputation for being less wholesome. What started as a simple genetic difference slowly evolved into a symbol of quality, even though the color itself had nothing to do with nutrition or farming practices. Humans are especially good at connecting dots that don't really belong together, and eggs became another example of that tendency. Chapter 5. Marketing and Perception. Marketing noticed this subtle human bias almost immediately. If shoppers assumed brown eggs were better, stores stocked more brown eggs. If customers were willing to pay extra, prices naturally followed. Our brains are wired to equate cost with quality. The more expensive something is, the more valuable it must be. And so the brown egg, already a visual symbol of health and tradition, became the premium choice. It's a perfect example of the way perception shapes behavior. Sometimes the story we tell ourselves about a product matters more than the product itself. Chapter 6. The Science of Shell Pigment. What actually makes brown eggs brown? Inside the hen's oviduct, the egg begins its journey as a blank white shell. As it passes through, a pigment called protoporphyrin is deposited. White eggs simply skip this step. They start white and stay white. Brown eggs, by contrast, get a thin layer of pigment layered on top, sometimes giving them a reddish or darker hue. The process is entirely cosmetic. It doesn't change the taste, nutrition, or quality of the egg. It's nature painting with a very subtle brush. Chapter 7. Does color affect freshness? Many people also believe that shell color affects freshness. Some argue that brown eggs last longer or spoil more slowly, while white eggs supposedly go off faster. The reality is that freshness is determined almost entirely by handling and storage. How long the egg has been sitting on a shelf, the temperature of the fridge, and how carefully it's transported matter far more than whether the shell is brown or white. Egg color plays no role in shelf life. Yet another myth survives simply because it feels plausible. Chapter 8. Taste or expectation. Some people swear brown eggs taste richer, creamier, or somehow more farm fresh. Chefs, home cooks, and taste testers all weigh in, each convinced that shell color matters. But when controlled blind taste tests are done, the difference disappears. Flavor comes from what the hen eats, not the color of the shell. A well-fed white egg can outperform a poorly fed brown egg in every culinary test. Yet our brains love expectation. If we believe brown eggs are better, we taste better. The flavor is as much in our heads as it is on our tongues. Chapter 9. Regional and cultural preferences. Around the world, the preference for egg color varies dramatically. In the United States, brown eggs often command a premium. In many parts of Europe or Asia, white eggs dominate supermarket shelves. These preferences are rarely about nutrition. They are cultural, shaped by history, availability, and marketing. In some regions, a brown egg might even be considered rustic or old-fashioned, while white eggs symbolize modern efficiency. Egg color has become a subtle marker of identity, tradition, and sometimes even status, showing how something as simple as an eggshell can carry layers of meaning. Chapter 10. The psychology of choice. Why do we care so much about shell color at all? The answer lies in human psychology. Our brains are pattern-seeking machines, and we are wired to associate color, price, and quality. When we see brown eggs in a carton slightly more expensive than their white neighbors, our subconscious whispers, premium, healthy, worth it. That whisper can override taste, nutrition, and logic. It's fascinating to realize that millions of purchasing decisions are influenced by something as simple as a chicken's earlobe and the pigment in its shell. Yet, we rarely stop to think about it. Chapter 11. Cooking and visual impact. Eggs aren't just for eating. They're for looking at, cracking open, and sometimes photographing for social media. And here, shell color can play a subtle role. A brown egg on a rustic wooden table looks farm-like, while a white egg on a sleek countertop feels modern and clean. In baking or cooking, however, the difference is almost always cosmetic. The chemistry inside the egg, the way it whips into meringue or binds a cake, is identical. Still, perception matters. The color of the shell can influence how we experience food before a single bite is taken, proving that eggs are not just about biology, they are about psychology too. Chapter 12. The ultimate truth. So, what have we learned? Eggshell color is dictated by genetics, not quality. Brown eggs usually cost more because the chickens that lay them are larger and eat more. Nutrition comes from diet, freshness comes from storage, and flavor comes from expectation and feed. We've uncovered myths, marketing tricks, and subtle cultural biases that influence our shopping habits more than we realize. At the end of the day, whether brown or white, eggs remain one of nature's most perfect, versatile, and surprisingly complex foods. And next time you reach for a carton at the supermarket, you'll see it with new eyes, appreciating the story behind the shell. Because sometimes the simplest things hide the most fascinating truths. Conclusion. As you close the carton and put your eggs away, remember that color isn't what makes an egg special. It's the story behind it. Whether brown or white, every egg carries a little bit of science, history, and human psychology along with it. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden truths behind something as simple as an egg, Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video. Share it with friends who might still be paying extra for brown eggs. So, the next time you're at the store, will you choose brown or white, and why? Let us know in the comments. We would like to know. Because every choice has a story, and the more we know, the more fascinating the everyday becomes.